Hi, my name is Stewart Harris, and I teach constitutional law at Lincoln Memorial University in Knoxville, Tennessee. Long before I went to law school, I learned how a bill becomes a law by watching Schoolhouse Rock. You remember that episode, I'm Just a Bill. You can still see it online, and it holds up really well. But that particular video was about the national government. It was about Washington, D.C., and how Congress and the President create law. The same thing happens in all 50 states. What are the differences? Well, there are 50 different differences, because in our federal system, every state has a great deal of power to do things its own way. But for the most part, these 50 states create law the same way the national government does. The beginning of any legislative process is someone comes up with an idea. I think there should be a law, there should be a rule about this or that thing, about this or that problem. That person goes to his or her representative, whether in the House or the Senate of his or her particular state legislature, and says, "Hey, representative, what do you think about this?" And if the representative agrees, he or she then goes back to the legislature and introduces a bill. Now, the details of what happens to that bill differ from state to state, but most of them are going to be referred to some sort of committee, which deals with the subject matter of that particular bill. A state legislature deals with many different problems, and no one legislator can be an expert on all of them. So they divide themselves up into committees. One committee may consider health and human services, another one may consider transportation, things of that sort. And then the committees will typically have hearings, if they're serious about the bill, if they really want to pursue it, and they'll bring in experts on that particular subject, and they'll say, "Hey, Mr. Expert," or "Hey, Ms. Expert, what do you think about this bill? Is it good? Is it bad? Could we improve it?" After it's gone through all of that, that's when the committee decides whether to report it favorably or unfavorably to the full House. This is where most bills die, because most of them, as they say, never get out of committee. They are tabled instead. But if a bill has significant support, the committee will have hearings, the committee will consider it, and then it will report it to the full body that it sits in, whether the House or the Senate, for consideration. Then that full legislative body has to vote on it, and if, and I say if, it gets a majority vote, then it has to go through the whole other process in the other house of that legislature, from beginning to end. So most bills do die somewhere along the line. But let's assume for a moment that this bill is very popular. It goes to the other house of the state legislature and it emerges. Well, almost always there are some little differences between the two versions of this bill. So they have to be reconciled in something called a conference committee. Now, assuming that committee can come to an agreement, it gets sent over to the governor of the state. And then he or she can either sign it, in which case it becomes a law, or veto it, in which case it goes back to the legislature, which may let it die or may override that veto, typically with some sort of supermajority. So that's how a bill becomes a law. This all sounds very complicated and lengthy, but don't be discouraged. If you have a really good idea and you think you convince your legislator to introduce it, give it a shot.